Jake
Okay.
has. Jake has, Norma has,
I have.
Kelsey has.
Okay. Has anybody sold more than 3 properties?
Kelsey's on her third, right?
Okay, sweet, perfect. Just want to get a
Yeah.
gauge
Yep.
as to where we're at. Okay, so if you haven't sold a property before, typically the first place that you want to start lead generating is your SOI. Does anybody know what SOI stands for?
Sphere of influence.
Yeah, sphere of influence. Why do you think why do you think that would be a good first place to start?
People already know and love. People already know, love, and trust
Okay, that's good. Do you have a real estate book in front of you there? Is that how you do that? I'm just joking. That was a perfect answer. Thank you.
you.
And so if would you rather call somebody that doesn't know you, doesn't trust you, doesn't like you, or would you rather call people that already kind of know you? They know you're not like a sleazy salesperson and you could probably have a better conversation with them, right? You obviously want to call the people that already know you. So the first place to start, guys, if you haven't done a real estate transaction, is you don't want to be a secret agent. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there that says post stuff on Instagram, post stuff on Facebook, and post stuff here and there, but the odds of you generating a lead off of social media is slim to none unless you're investing thousands of dollars into marketing or already have a huge following. Okay, so I want to help you focus on where to start and how to start. So when you call your SOI, what do you think you can call and say?
Do you know anyone that's thinking of moving here?
Okay. So if I ask you, do you know anybody, and you don't know anybody, what do you say? Antonio.
As soon as you think of someone, would you mind calling me?
Yep. So let's role play that. You asked me that question.
Hi, do you know anyone that's thinking of moving here soon?
No, I don't. Okay, and then come. You with me, Antonio?
Sorry, I could barely hear you.
It's okay. My internet was shoddy for a second, but it's good now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the conversation ends as soon as I say no, right? So a better question to ask, instead of saying, do you know anybody? They're always 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. The better question to ask is, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell in the area? Okay, so we're going to start replacing the language that you're using so you don't elicit no responses right off the bat. A no response isn't always a bad thing, but it is when you're trying to carry conversation. So the question now, Antonio, do you want to try to script practice that again and ask me that question?
Who do you know that's planning to move soon?
There you go. Okay. See how that feels more comfortable and it has the person actually start thinking about who they might know?
Yes.
Okay, good work, good work. All right, so here's the script when you call your SOI. You're calling him and saying, hey, this is Dave. I just wanted to call you with some good news and that I just got my real estate license with Keller Williams. And I was curious, what tough real estate questions do you have at the moment? Okay, who needs me to repeat that?
Me?
Okay. Hey, this is David with Keller Williams. I haven't talked to you in a while and I apologize about that, but I wanted to call you with some good news. License, and I was calling to see what tough real estate questions do you have right now? Okay, now what do most realtors say when they call and ask people that kind of question? So you haven't talked to somebody in over a year, they're in your phone, and you're calling them randomly asking them to buy or sell, and you have no rapport rebuilt with them. They're almost always going to say no, even if they are thinking about selling. But if you call them and add benefit and add value to them, you'll have a better response. So I'm going to drop some books on this call. Let me know if I hear me. So the first book that I want to recommend that you guys read or listen to on Audible, it, it's by Gary Vaynerchuk. I think it's called Give It Out. Jab, 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 left hook.
I think
New agents. Does
you're really
anybody?
breaking up. Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
It
I
should
don't
get
know how
better
to
here in a
fix
second.
that, but okay. So the book you recommended was
My
Jab,
video's
Jab,
off, so
Jab,
my
Left
internet
Hook.
connection should. Yep, by Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay, got it.
So does anybody know on this call the average turnaround rate from when you start being a realtor to being paid as a realtor or getting your first or second or third check? How many days it typically takes?
$90.
There you go. So it takes 90 days on average for you to convert a lead that's a decent lead or a warm lead. Okay, so if you are not making a paycheck today, that means that you probably didn't do income generating activities 90 days ago. Now, does anybody know what a good example of an income generating activity could be?
Open houses, cold calling,
Okay,
door knocking.
there you go. Keep going. That's 3. Let's do 2 more.
Event.
Events. Ryan said emails in the chat. Okay, can we get one more?
Circle calling. Just listed,
Okay.
just sold.
Yep. Ryan King said face-to-face meetings and lunches. Okay, good. So there's no lack of ways to generate business. There's just lack of time and motivation to be able to do it. For example, has anybody on this call door knocked for real estate within the past 60 days?
Yes.
Okay, good. And Jake, it sounds like you were door knocking here recently. What was your script when you did that?
It was, I'm just hosting an open house this Saturday for this property. I'm just reaching out to the neighbors to invite you, see if you can sorry, I'm more nervous to talk to you than I am to talk to them, honestly. But just reaching out to the neighbors, just inviting you to the open house. If you have any friends or family that you would like to live nearby you, go ahead and send them over.
Good job, dude. That's awesome. And how many times did you go door knocking
Over
for that open house?
100 houses for each
100
house,
houses?
or for
And,
each open house, yeah.
and how many times have you done that?
Like 3 or 4 at this point.
Okay, so about 300 or 400 doors that you've knocked. And how many leads have you generated off of that?
None. So
Okay.
I definitely, that's why I'm in here, is because of the fact that I don't think that I'm doing a very good job with the conversations, or there's something lacking
Okay.
there.
It's all good. I
Because
got
I
you
am
covered, bro.
putting in the work to actually go out and knock and talk to people. But it just seems like a lot of doors slammed in my faces, or people just like, oh yeah, cool, we'll show up, but then they never do.
Uh-huh. Yep. All right. So there's 2 things, Jake, and this is to everybody, but specifically Jake. There's hustle, which is your work ethic, and then there's skills. You can't teach hustle. You can teach skills, and that's why you're working with Terry and over at the PC1 coaching. She'll help you out with the skills too. But the hustle, you have to have that grit to be able to go out there and knock 400 doors in a week. And if you do enough doors, you'll accidentally come across somebody that's actually looking to buy or sell here pretty quickly. Now, when that happens, you have to not act surprised. Okay. And you have to know what you're going to say next. So here's what I would recommend, Jake, is I would change the script up a little bit. And I think it's great that you're going around and adding value with clients, especially with their open houses. But if you're not asking any closing questions, it's a little bit difficult to generate leads to follow up on to do more deals. And that's the whole reason that you're doing this anyway. So here's what I would do, Jake. Are you still with me?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to do a little role play. You're going to be the person at the door. Knock, knock.
Hello.
Hey, Jake, this is David. I'm with Keller Williams, and I'm hosting an open house at the Johnson Street down the street from you. Do you know the Johnsons?
Oh yeah, they've come over a few times and had dinner.
Yeah, exactly. They have a 4,500 square foot home, finished basement, all upgraded for 1.35 on 3/4 acre lot. This Saturday between 10 and 12 is the open house, but we're going to do a special preview for the neighbors if you want to get in there before all the hustle and bustle at 9:30. So I wanted to give you this flyer with a special invitation for you to come and check that out. Now you might notice, Jake, at the bottom of this flyer is a QR code for a home equity analysis on your property. If you're interested on how the value of that property is going to affect your value, or you have thoughts on selling in the next 6 to 12 months and you want to know what your property's worth, just scan that, fill out your information later today, and I'll have that to you within 24 hours. Fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now another way to approach that is by giving them the flyer, but taking their information if they are interested in selling. You know, for example, Jake, since we're selling this property, it's going to sell really quickly because it's priced correctly. We're probably going to have 2 or 3 leftover buyers. Have you had any thoughts on selling this year if you could get the right price? Now, what are they going to say?
No, my interest rate. I'm just kidding. No.
They're going to say yes, no, or maybe. I guess the
Yeah,
fourth one is they
absolutely.
slam the door in your face, right?
For
But
sure.
if they say no, no problem. Curious, what's holding you back? Is it the timing or the price? Why do you think you asked that, Jake?
Probably just to find out what their motivation is.
There you go. Because without motivation, you can't have a true conversation with somebody about why they're going to do it eventually, now or down the road. So the last thing I would add to that before we move on, Jake, is door knocking and geo farming and door knocking like that's really, really difficult, dude. You have to do like 1,000 doors to get 10 leads to get one person that might actually do something. So if you want your odds to become better, what I would recommend is start door knocking FSBOs, expireds, and cancels. You'll have a lot higher of a conversion rate if you start door knocking people that already raised their hand previously and said, I want to sell. And nobody else out there is door knocking. So if you got the grit to do it, you can always go and create a higher conversion rate by talking to people that already tried selling previously but couldn't. Okay, who has questions about any of that crazy stuff that I just went over? Come on, one question, anything, comment, idea.
I've been door knocking before and I've got in like well, my family friend's a realtor and stuff like that.
Okay, good. So whenever somebody says, so you're always going to hear that for the rest of your career in real estate. It's like the number one most used objection. It's the number one most used condition or objection. By the way, does anybody know the difference between a condition and an objection? Okay. A condition is something that you typically can't overcome as a salesperson. An objection is something that you can overcome. A condition is, hey, I can't sell because my kids are still in school and my family lives next door and we can't sell because they help out with the kids and we can't move for another 3 years. Okay, I wouldn't even know where to start to help them overcome that to still sell. An objection is, hey, our interest rate's 3.5%, we can't afford to move. That's an objection that I can overcome with a script.
And what does that script look like?
Well, let me answer the first one first, and then remind me what that question was. So the first one was, hey, my friend or family is in the business. That was you that asked that, right, Antonio?
Yes.
Okay. Antonio, I appreciate that your cousin is a realtor. If you didn't have a cousin that was a realtor, I'd be very, very surprised. Now, have you considered that mixing business and family doesn't always work, Antonio?
Yes, but it has for the past 10 years.
Great. So no matter what, even if I did it for free, you probably would still use your cousin to sell your house, correct?
Maybe.
Yeah. The chances are you're going to say, yeah, no, I'm going to use my cousin no matter what. And I'm just going to end the call gracefully. Because sometimes you just can't overcome people's objections. Now, if they're like, yeah, I've got to use my cousin. He's a realtor. I've used him for 10 years. He hasn't always treated me right, though. He's not always responsive. You know, a couple deeper questions I like to ask on that is, where's your cousin located? Okay. I want to find out if they're a local agent or an out-of-town agent. Okay, what's your cousin's name? I'm going to look him up real quick and see how many sales he's done in the past 2 years. Oh my gosh, he hasn't done any sales in the past 2 years. Are you sure he's a realtor? He is? Okay, well, what does he do for a full-time job or a part-time job? Because he's not paying his bills selling real estate. Okay, see, I'm passive-aggressive about that, but I'm pretty point blank. That's like the only way that you can overcome that objection is by saying, hey, you know, I know you don't have the sales to back it up, but you could always use my company. Hey, your cousin has sold 1 property in the past 2 years. My company sold 5 properties in the past 2 months. Okay, so you can always dig deeper and find out if they really like that cousin. And the second part of that, Antonio, is there's no reason to dig deeper or address that any further if they're not actually looking to buy or sell. You know, what's your time frame looking on actually selling if you were to use your cousin? 3 years from now? All right, no problem. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. But you don't have to waste your time on somebody that's not serious or motivated either. And that's the next point of topic after we handle this next question from Jake is finding the motivated. But Jake, what was that one that we were going to touch on?
That they're not willing to sell because their interest rate is low and they'd be getting into a higher interest rate.
Okay, good. And then right after this, we'll touch on finding the motivated. So don't forget about that, guys. Okay, so let's role play that a little bit. Jake, it sounds like you want to sell, but what's holding you back again?
I got my house at a 3% interest rate, and I'm just not willing to make that jump in monthly payments.
Okay, good. And what had you thinking about selling and moving anyway?
The space isn't working for me anymore, so we're trying to upgrade for the family.
Okay, gotcha. And how much equity do you have in your home right now?
Probably around 100,000.
Okay, good. Well, here's one that I could consider, for you to consider, Jake, is that the market that you're selling right now is really, really strong because you're selling to buy a bigger property, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's not much inventory for the home that you have, and there's more inventory for the property that you're looking for. So if there was ever a time to sell high and buy low, it's literally right now. Have you considered that?
No, I haven't.
So would you rather buy low now or wait for rates to go down and then end up having to pay more for the next house?
Well, I've had people respond different ways because of the fact that I have asked, if
Keep role playing, stay in the role play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I've thought about doing that, but the thing about it is I'm not willing to pay that amount right now until, I'm not really willing to pay a higher amount because I can't afford it right now.
Okay, good. When's the last time you talked to a local lender to find out how much your down payment would be, how much your monthly payments would be, and what you're qualified up to?
Probably, right around when I got this house.
Okay, good. So it's been a while, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would agree that things with lending changes pretty often?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I get emails from my lender.
Right. So here's what I want to do. I want to line you up with my local lender, Jason. And I also want you to talk to your local lender, Bob. Okay. And when you call him, I want you to ask him, hey, what would it look like for me to do a 2-1 buy down? Have you heard of a 2-1 buy down before?
No, I haven't.
So I don't know if you heard last week or not, but rates just went down to 6.6%. And with a seller paid 2-1 buy down, you can get a rate right now for around 4.6%. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's called a 2-1 buy down. It will buy your rate down 2 points the first year, 1 point the second year, and it fixes to whatever the rate is today in 3 years from now. But what are the chances that rates go back down 3 years from now?
Probably none. They always go up.
They typically always go up. And if they don't go down and you can't refinance, then you're always already sitting in a better buying position because rates keep going up and you're locked into a lower rate. And then when they eventually go down, you can always refinance. Can you see how that works?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. Let's get you on the call with the lender today at 5:30 or 6:30. Which time works better for you?
5:30 works best.
Okay, so coming out of the role play, why do you think I commit to a time and an appointment for them to speak to a lender?
It gives them options, and if you just tell someone like what time works best for you, they might not give you an exact time, or they might be like, I don't know, I'll call you back when I know a better time.
And then you never hear from them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you can lock them into, because people don't like lying, so if you can lock them into a verbally agreed appointment, they tend to show up to that appointment more, especially if you're lining up a call with a lender and a buyer. That's, unless they're super motivated, that's kind of hard to do. And somebody
For
that's
sure.
already bitching and moaning about rates, you got to kind of tie them down. Okay, it's called a tie down.
For sure.
Okay, all right. Now moving on, unless anybody has any questions about that. How much time we got, Terry?
You have plenty of time. You have till 5.
Okay. I don't know if I need that much time, but we'll go over a couple more things. Okay, this is probably
Yeah.
the most important thing that we can go over today, and that's finding the motivated. Now, does anybody know how many people live in Salt Lake Valley? Take a guess.
Around like 1.2 million people.
Okay, 1.2. Anybody else want to guess?
3.
3 million. Okay, well, let's get one more guess.
10 million.
10 million. Okay, so it's right around like 2.2 to 2.5, somewhere in that range. Can't remember exactly. So there's 2.2 million people in the Salt Lake Valley or the surrounding area. 99% of those individuals are not motivated. They're not serious, and they're out there looking to waste a lot of time with agents that don't know as much about pre-qualifying as yourselves. Okay, raise your hand if anybody spent time with a buyer or seller that ended up wasting a lot of their time. Everybody's got their hands up right now, including me. So the biggest thing to do right now in this type of market is to find the motivated. Does anybody know what will help you determine whether or not somebody's motivated? How you can find that out? Anybody know?
I usually just ask, how come you are in the market, to sell or to buy? And
Mhm.
they give you different reasons.
Yep.
And then just start digging a little bit more, like how would that
Yes.
change your situation,
Yes.
Are you willing to wait a little bit longer? And
Uh-huh.
would you be happy if you like lose this house, and
Yep.
that you're looking at?
Do
Just
you
kind
have
of dig
sales
in a little more.
experience, Norma?
Yes, I do.
What do you have experience in selling?
When I was 20 years old, I used to sell Cutco door to
Okay.
door, so selling
This-
knives.
This is the same thing, just more expensive. So Norma hit the nail on the head. You ask questions to find the motivated. Some questions are like what she mentioned. Hey, how would it make you feel if you weren't able to do this? Okay. If you guys Google this, you'll be able to find a forum. It's Mike Ferry, best real estate coach out there in regards to finding the motivated. Mike Ferry, pre-qualifying listing script. So Mike Ferry pre-qualifying the listing script. The number one question on it, I already have it memorized, so I can tell you guys what it is. And you're going to think this is crazy, but the number one question I ask after I talk to a seller that I think is ready to go before I go out and meet with them, I say, Mr. Smith, if what I say makes sense when I come out and meet with you tomorrow at 4, and you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, do you plan to go ahead and list it with me at that time? Okay, they're either going to say yes or they're going to say no. If they say yes, or they could say maybe, I guess, but if they say yes, I know it's a home run. Okay, not sweating. If they say no, I want to ask, no problem. What do you think would hold you back from going ahead and signing with me then? And they're either going to list an objection or a condition. And I'm either going to be able to overcome their objection or find out, whoa, this person has a condition that they're not going to be ready for 6 months. I can decide at this point whether or not it's worth my time to invest into going to meet with them for future business, or to just let them go and try to call somebody else that's more serious and more motivated to do something now. Okay, because this is imperative, guys. You only have a certain amount of time before you're out of the business. It's 85% of realtors are out of the business within their first 3 years. Something crazy. The failure rate in this business is ridiculous because we talk to people that we think are serious, only to find out that they just wasted a lot of our time because they weren't ready yet. Okay. Or they worked with somebody else, because there's a really good book. Here's the second book that I'm going to recommend to you guys. This will change your career in this business. I'm going to pull it up right now so I give you the correct name. It's called Full, Full, still pulling it up. Fee. Okay. The Full Fee Agent. Fee, Fee. The Full Fee Agent. Okay. It's written by this dude, Chris Voss. Chris Voss was the #1 hostage negotiator in the world, came out of that industry to start a coaching industry, and now he's crushing it with coaching multi-billion-dollar companies out there in sales. Okay, the Full Fee Agent. Make sure to listen to that one, guys. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. He also wrote another book. I forget what it's called. Maybe somebody else on here can remind me, but he's got a couple books out there that are both really good. That one's like imperative to read sooner than later, because in that book, he talks about what's called, you're either the fool or you're the favorite. A lot of people already have their favorite agent already picked out that they're going to use. They just like to shop around to verify that who they're using and what they're offering is their best option. Okay. And we've all been played the fool many a times where they just shop us out. We give them a bunch of information. We spend 5 hours to do a market analysis. We go and preview their property twice. We ask everybody about it. We go back, circle back around, follow up with them for 3 months. They stop answering, and all of a sudden, the property's on the market. Okay. With a little bit more digging deeper, you'll be able to find out where they were with the scenario and situation before you even had to get to that point. For example, another pre-qualification question that you'll see in the Mike Ferry script is, are you interviewing more than one agent for the job of selling your property? Okay, that's a really good question to find out who your competition is, and also if they're interviewing other agents. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. If they are, don't let it affect you. Just try to be better than that other agent. Provide more value. All right, we'll kind of open it up for the next 15 minutes to some questions, ideas, concerns. What can I address for you guys?
I have a concern, Josh. I met with a new client last week. He's an elderly gentleman. His home is a split entry 1975 home, and he's renovated the home like everywhere. I mean, he's put new material everywhere. It's a really nice looking home. Here's the deal. He doesn't need to sell. He doesn't have a mortgage right now, but he would like to be close to his daughters. They live in Copperton. And just talking to him, I was trying to help him understand that, hey, when you're selling the home, you're also selling the community to that person, right? It's not just the home. Yes, his home could be the nicest in the whole community, but people are only able and willing to purchase a home for a certain amount because of the community that it's in. I mean, and if he's going to list it out there, he needs to have a competitive price. If it's too expensive, it could just sit there, and then it starts to create a reputation
What's the
of,
question?
that home has been sitting there. So I need to know how to find the real motivation or how to help him. I mean, can I really help him if he doesn't have to sell?
Yeah. So is there anywhere for him to go to in Copperton? Because I know that's a small niche market. There's not many properties there. Could he find
There's
somewhere to
not-
go?
I'm going to go and take a walk with his daughter. He has 2 properties in mind that he would like to sell. And I'm going to go and ask them, would you be willing to sell? Because they're not selling, that's for sure.
They're not on the market.
No.
Okay, cool. And if they oh, man, this is a tough one, because remember, this is what I was just talking about. If you go and meet with the daughter and you meet with him, and you think about how many working hours you could spend with this dude for him to not actually end up ever pulling the trigger. So I like to ask people like that really clear closing questions. For example, Mr. Smith, if I can help you get top dollar for your property and make a lateral move over to Copperton, are you ready to get the ball rolling? Are you ready to get started this week? Are you ready to get your property on the market? What would stop you from, what would hold you back from getting together and getting your property on the market now, contingent upon you finding suitable housing? I would start asking questions like that to find out if he's serious or just curious. So a guideline that I've lived by for the past decade in this business is find the people that are worth investing your time into instead of working with the people that aren't worth wasting your time on. And by asking questions like that, if that guy's like, yeah, I'm willing to do what it takes. I have to get to Copperton. I'm ready to follow your lead. I'm ready to trust you and follow your, what you say we need to do for that to happen. And he's just like, I don't know. Maybe it'd be nice. Wishful thinking. I'm a gambler. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's not worth investing your time into. And you just keep him in for long-term follow-up until his motivation increases. You cannot make a decision for somebody. You can only give them information to help them make a decision. And whether they decide to move forward or not is not up to you. That's up to them. But for you, your job is to find out if they will move forward sooner than later so you don't waste a bunch of time. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yes. I was wondering how profitable it would be to, stick around and try to make, an ideal situation for him. He has a very specific idea of what he wants to
Well,
move
here's a
forward
way to
to.
cover your butt on that. Okay. So if I was going to go down that route, I'd say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to knock those 2 doors that guy likes, but I'm also going to knock 100 more doors over the next 3 days and see if I can dig up something. Okay. Here's the worst case scenario. Go and knock 100 doors. The 2 or 3 that he specifically wants don't want to sell, but you end up finding 5 other people that want to sell in the next 6 months, and you end up listing one in the next 90 days. And that listing makes you $25,000 or $20,000, $15,000. That just made, the 7 hours that you invested into that, $15,000 divided by 7 hours of door knocking is $2,200 an hour. I don't even think neurosurgeons get paid $2,200 an hour. But are you willing to do that enough to generate enough leads and follow up with them consistently enough to have a residual business where you're doing more than one deal every 4 months or one deal every 3 months or one deal every 1 month? Because that's barely getting by in this business, unfortunately, anymore. Okay, unless you're doing 2 to 4 deals a month, you're not really where you need to be in this business. And the only way to do that is to stack a pipeline by doing income generating activities for at least 3 hours a day. I don't care if it's door knocking, sending out mailers, cold calling, just not social media and not dumb stuff like that. That's not actually generating you leads. It's just making you feel like you're doing something important and busy. It's not actually making you money. Okay, time for one more question. Who's got it? Or something they're dealing with that's an issue. Fred, Marcel, Steve, Caddy. Haven't heard from you. You guys there? Ruby, Victor, anybody?
Don't be shy. We're lucky we have him. Ask some questions.
Terry, they must know everything. You must be doing a really good job.
Maybe so.
Okay, I like it. Do you have anything, Terry, you want to run by me real quick?
I feel like you've just, oh, Caddy can't talk. She's at work. And I know Victor and Ruby are driving as well. No, I think you've done an awesome job. So I'm happy that we've recorded this because the one thing I wanted to say is, can you guys not tell how much he's practiced what he's going to say? Because it just rolls off your tongue. It's just amazing. And it just shows how much you actually do this. So how long I mean, I guess you're on the phone for 3 hours a day. That's what you're saying you're doing.
Yeah,
I
minimum.
feel like you probably do more.
Uh-huh. Yep, minimum 3 hours a day because my goal is to make 30 new income generating contacts a day. And typically
30.
out of that, 30 contacts a day. If I do 30 contacts a day, I'll typically generate 3 leads. And a lead is somebody that's eventually going to do something, whether it's now or later. And if it's any more than a year out, I'm not keeping it. If it's within the next year, I'm keeping it and following up with them quarterly. And if I generate 3 leads, I'll typically get 1 appointment. Okay. And then, I got about 50% hold ratio on those cold appointments that I get because I call them again to confirm them or send them a text to confirm it and just say, hey, before I come out and meet with you, I just had a couple quick things to go over. And they're like, no, change your mind. Okay, no problem. Try to redig in the motivation. If they're just not selling, there's nothing you can do about it. But so 30 contacts, you generate 3 leads, you set 1 appointment. About half of those appointments actually hold. And my appointments, when I actually go and sit down with these people, I'm converting them at an extremely high level because I've pre-qualified the crap out of them before I've gotten there. I know how much equity they have. I know what features and benefits their property has. I know how many kids and animals they have. I know exactly what they're looking to do when they sell. I get down super nitty gritty so that when I go and meet with them, I already have so much rapport because I know their situation inside and out that they already have a lot of trust built up with me. And I also, before I go and meet with somebody on a listing appointment, I send them what I call a value proposition email. And if anybody wants this, send me a text, or Terry, you can send me your email and I'll send it to you later today. But my value proposition email, it has my Zillow page with reviews and past sales. If you don't have that, just use your market centers or use your companies. It's got information about what I do to sell properties like theirs. It's got information about me. And it's just a good email that goes over marketing plan and stuff like that. So sometimes by the time I get there, they're like, hey, we reviewed your email. We're ready to move forward. We just need to figure out price. And then my listing appointment is like 20 minutes long. I preview their property. I go over my marketing, touch on price, and then the agreement's already signed. Hey, a listing appointment doesn't need to be 3 hours long. People don't want to sit there talking to a stranger for 3 hours. They want somebody that goes in, knows what they're going to do, spot on, and moves on.
Awesome. We have a lot of questions about expired listings, what scripts you would use. Would you do it cold calling or knock on their door? What's your
questions
approach
from
for
these
expireds?
guys?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's two ways to do expireds. You can either do them consistently and long enough that you see something out of it, or you can do it for like a month or two, kind of dabble in it, not really get anywhere and give up and say this doesn't work. Okay, it's your guys' decision on which direction you want to take with that. Here's why I bring this up. 80-20 rule. 80% of you are going to do 20% of the business, or no, 20% of you are going to do 80% of the business. So that means 20% of the people on this call, when I give this advice, are actually going to go out and do something. So to the 20% that I'm talking to right now, working expires and cancels isn't something that you do once or twice and it works out and you take a bunch of listings and you make a bunch of money. Working expires and cancels is very monotonous, and it takes a long time to build up a database of individuals that will eventually do something. And you have to follow up with them with enough value that they'll eventually, when they are ready to make that move, call you or you call them at the right time. Okay. Does anybody want to take a guess on average when I call a new expired, say around 9:30 a.m., how many other agents have already called that lead?
20.
Yeah, probably between 20 and 30. And that's within the first 4 hours of it, like 7 a.m. to 9:30, 10 a.m. There's already typically 20 agents that have called that person. So unless you're going to start calling at 8 a.m. new expireds, you might as well not even bother because they're all toast by then. And if you don't know what you're going to say to be able to convert somebody that's been called 30 times that morning, don't even try. Here's my advice to you. Try to figure out how to go back over the past 3 years and find the expireds and cancels in a specific area or geo farm that you want to start working, and extract that data. Pull those properties, knock on those doors, or skip trace the property to find out the homeowner's contact information. If they're on the DNC list, don't call them. Any skip tracer out there, you can pay $10 a month. It'll send you information and tell you which numbers are on the DNC list. That's why I'm a huge advocate for door knocking, because there's no DNC list on door knocking. So my favorite leads are 2022 expired and canceled listings. And the reason being is, who knows what happened in 2022 to interest rates?
Anyone?
They were low.
They change. The
Okay,
interest rate went from low to high.
There you go. So they went from like 3.5% to like 6.5% in the matter of 4 months, right? And everybody that was on the market, because the market was peaking and none of the sellers knew it, and all of a sudden their property wasn't worth the 650 they had on the market for, it was worth 600. Market flattened out, wasn't as hot, it canceled. Now they're all pissed off because they can't get the price that they thought they could before. But here's the thing about 2024 and 2022 is property values never went down after 2022. they stayed stable or maybe even went up a point or two. So that's why I like calling those 21 and 2022 expired and cancels, is because a lot of times the price that they wanted before and they couldn't get because buyers had shell shock of interest rates doubling overnight, they can get those prices typically right now, and there's no inventory out there. So if you can call that and explain that to them in an educational matter with their involvement in the conversation, not just spewing data at them, you'll have a really good chance of picking somebody up that's going to do something here in the next 3 to 6 months. Hardly ever do I talk to an expired or canceled lead that's ready to do something now. That's so rare, it's ridiculous. All the cancels and expired leads that I work and I convert are typically 6, 12, 18, 24 months old that I've picked up. I generated them. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to sell. I'm just not ready yet. Here's what it's going to take for me to be ready. And I follow up with them on a quarterly basis with value. Hey, this is David. I spoke to you last year. You had mentioned you were going to sell because you need more room for your dog. Your dog's name is Harry. I sent you a gift card to PetSmart. Did you get that? Fantastic. Are you and your Harry ready to get a bigger yard? You are? Okay, great. Why don't I come meet with you tomorrow at 4 to go over what it will take to sell your house and buy the next one? Oh, by the way, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident, I can sell your home. You plan to go ahead and list it with me. That way I can get some type of commitment to find out if I'm working with somebody that's ready to pull the trigger or if they're just fishing me out for prices and information and never actually going to do something, wasting a lot of my time. So that's my spiel on expireds. If you're going to do it, go all in. Don't quit. If you're not going to do it and you're going to give up after a few weeks, you might as well not even waste your time because it's not going to work out.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Terry, feel free to give out my information. If you guys have any questions, please text me, don't call me. And I'm happy to help whenever I can. Or if you have some, situations, email me or text me. And then Terry, if you ever need me for anything, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. We appreciate your time.
You got it. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you.
What do you guys think? Everyone's so quiet.